first hearing on our agenda is a continued hearing for 0 Bedford Street. Come on up and give us an update. Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Christine Hung of Reamer and Bronstein, attorney for the applicant, CMT Realty. With me tonight, I have Karen Curran, of the property owner. Just by way of recap, since it has been quite some time since we were last before you, we are here on an appeal of the building inspector's decision. This property is a unique property in that it is, part of the land is in Burlington and part in another municipality, Bedford. The applicant is looking to place a freestanding sign on the Burlington property that advertises businesses in Bedford. There's no prohibition in the bylaws that prohibits this kind of sign. In fact, at Middlesex Commons, there is currently a freestanding sign that advertises businesses on businesses that are located in Lexington. I do have some handouts to provide. They're similar to what I had provided the last time, just showing the property. Thank you, John. So the sign is dimensionally compliant with the bylaws. It is placed back more than 10 feet back from the lot line, and it's placed back actually 35 feet from the site access drive where you would turn out, so there's no, in our opinion, no safety issue. We feel that it meets the intent and purposes of the bylaw, which is the sole kind of purpose of why we're here today, to appeal the building inspector's decision that it does not meet the intent and purposes of the bylaw. And that's really the recap. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have. Oh, I should say, we originally proposed a sign. There was some discussion that the sign was too large, so we came back with a smaller size sign, and it just advertises the retail tenants, not the office tenants. And so what you have before you is the redesigned sign. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin just to introduce himself and just to talk a little bit about the history of the property.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Kevin Curran, and I am, for all intents and purposes, the owner of the property. Part of the, and this is a little repetitive for some members of the board, but I'll give a high-speed overview. I purchased this property on or about July 1, 1992. I mean, that is like 31 and a half years ago. And the development in the neighborhood has been unbelievable. I mean, I say sometimes it's better to be lucky than smart, and I was lucky in this case. The edge of the property that we're talking about putting the sign on right now, when I bought the property, it was a dirt path to a locked chain link fence that had an EPA restriction on it. I think it was a former RCA missile plant or something like that. And there was no activity to speak of. Now that edge of the property is called Network Drive, and it's really a turnpike, 4 lanes, tremendous amount of traffic. We redeveloped one of the buildings. The property we purchased had a 60,000 square foot office building that's basically the same as when we bought it, and it had about a 60,000 square foot 1-story flex building. That flex building has been totally gut rehabbed, and the market's changed, and now we introduced restaurants. We were one of the earliest parties in this area to put restaurants in a mixed office park. So what I'm asking for today, with your support, is a relatively modest sign just to give indications to the public as they drive by that these restaurants are on the property. Our plan is to hold, our family's plan is to hold this forever. We've already owned it for 31 years. We're not going to flip it after getting this approval or something like that. We're just trying to enhance the property for the long term, and I hope you see that this sign is not detrimental. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, may I add something? So we understood, we heard what the board had said at the last hearing with respect to the signs on Burlington Road. So what they'd be willing to do, because the location of this sign on Middlesex Turnpike is important to them because there is no signage along that way, that they'd be willing to take down the freestanding sign that is on Burlington Road right now, so that there isn't an abundance of sun, and I know that this is the concern of the board, so they would be willing to do that.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we'll start with questions from the board. John, do you want to start?
So this new sign that you're proposing is how much smaller than the sign you proposed at the last meeting?
I think it's a foot less, so originally it was proposed at 15 feet, now it's 14 feet, and I think it's, might be a little bit narrower too.
Just a couple comments then. I don't think that's that much of a difference. I don't think we've gained anything by prolonging this thing. As far as removing that other sign, the one that's out in front, they had already agreed to that at the last meeting to begin with, so I don't think we're gaining too much. That's my opinion. I'll wait to hear what the rest of the board says.
Okay, sure. Joe?
I know you shrunk it at 1 foot from 15 to 14, and the tenant riders, in your application, you have 7, and the one you just passed out, you have 6, so you shrunk that as well? There's only 6 riders? And the other one is the unfinished third dumpster bay, never been bricked. Like the other two, you got 2 dumpster bays, the third one was added, probably with no permits or nothing, and it's unfinished to this day. What's the process for that? To be finished or or removed?
Well, we would be happy to brick it.
So it would
But
be
we-
staying,
Well, right now, we would retain it, although I would probably long-term like to move it to another location on the property. Bedford,
do we know if that meets the setback?
I believe it does meet 10 feet.
Because we don't have any dimensions on the plot plan.
Of the
Well, we asked for that
dumpster, of the
information the last
dumpster,
meeting.
of the dumpster, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, to prove that it was within the setback. We asked for that information, we haven't received it.
The dump, if I look at this plan, Joe, you see that there are parking spaces. There's a 5 that, on the plan that shows, and next to that 5 is where the dumpster is. And if you scale it off the corner of the granite to the property line, it's, I believe, slightly.
When was the third bay added? How long ago was that added?
Rich Iovino did it about 10 years ago.
Reason why it was never finished?
I don't recall.
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
I think we've talked about it before. I have a concern regarding the safety in that area. The way cars move from all different directions, and you're almost forced when you come out of that driveway to go right because cars are coming in from your right as you're leaving from, say, the Bamboo parking lot. Cars are shooting around from the Bedford Street or Burlington Street, whatever that is there, and then they're coming in from all different directions. I believe that putting up a sign there, I know that you're claiming that it's set back sufficiently, but I still see it as a safety issue, and I don't think the sign is necessary in that area.
So this rendering, this third page, shows where the proposed sign would be, which is not even in the sight distance of a car.
Yeah.
So you see where the car's pulling out, that's where the access drive is. So are you saying that the actual freestanding sign would be an
I don't think this
impediment?
properly portrays what is actually happening on the ground there. I think that you have trees, we discussed that before. I know that the way it's depicted now, it looks like it's wide open, but I believe that it's the sight lines from that area as you come out and you look to your left, I don't think there's
So-
a need for,
The tree is an existing condition, that's something that's there. I mean, we're talking about the sign, and,
I gotcha.
and so it's,
I don't believe the sign is necessary for that area. That's my position.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah. So they answered a couple of questions I had. I appreciate you bringing the size down on the sign. I think it's appropriate for what could go there. I appreciate you saying you get rid of the other sign, even though we already gone over that. As far as the dumpster bays go, I'd like to see that gone, but obviously it's not feasible at the moment, but maybe we can get somewhere with that. I don't think the sight line's that big a deal. The plot plan's showing it's 12'4" off of the property line, and I'm trying to get a rough off of Mass Mapper here, because there's still a considerable amount of distance to the road, so I don't think the sight line would be too much of an issue. That's really all I have at the moment.
All right, thank you. Jeremy?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what I wanted to ask has already been asked, but I think one of the things with the Board of Appeals is we don't want the town of Burlington to end up looking like a Vegas Strip, and appreciate that you're willing to take a sign down, but I think if we, do end up approving this, I'd like to see some kind of assurance that we won't have lots of lit up signs in the Bedford portion of this property that would light up into Burlington. It's not our jurisdiction, but is there a way for us to get an agreement on that?
If you're asking me, yes. I mean, we're not looking to put a sign in front of 213. We're going to take down the sign that's there if this is approved. The only thing, and I shared this with with the town previously, is the town of Bedford might require a sign for the fire department, to say this is 213 Burlington Road. I could see that, but we're not looking to turn this thing into Las Vegas. And if you look at the other properties that I own, the signs are tasteful, they're professional. And if it's not out of turn, and Mark, I respect your comment about safety. I tell my people there's not enough money in this whole business for anybody to lose their life. I say that all the time. We own 300,000 square feet in a few towns. I think the sight lines are fine here, and that's not a convenient thing for me to say, it just happens to be the truth. I care about safety. It would stink if somebody lost their life because a sign was there, even if it was permitted. So I think those sight lines are safe. I use that exit. I'll tell you, turning left out of there is not something I do. I go over to the, and you don't have the whole property in front of you, but there's another exit. If you have to go left, I go to another exit off the property that's safe and take a right turn to go where I'm going. But I concur on that left turn. It's crazy.
but I would add that it doesn't have anything to do with the sign. The sign is set back 35 feet, so when you take a left outside of this access drive, it is what it is right now, and the sign doesn't have any bearing on that danger, because it's actually behind you, 35 feet behind you.
I disagree, because I think it's just adding to all the barriers that you have there, including the bricked-in areas and whatever other, as you say, pre-existing barriers, right, that make the sight lines more difficult.
Yeah, but the sight line is on Middlesex Turnpike, so as you go out there, you look left, right, the sign is behind you,
It's
so.
not, that's not, you can be looking, as you're approaching, you're looking, to your left. So, the sign, the bricked-in area, the trees, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, those are existing conditions.
Again, I think the building inspector got it right. That's my position.
I have a couple of comments before we open up to the public. I had a similar comment on the sign placement from this one. It looks like it does look like it's further up, if I'm looking at it right. I don't know if that large tree is depicted or not in the sign plan, but there does seem to be some type of tree that it's right next to, and I don't see that on the plan, so I think it's probably further up. But for me, I mean, either way, I think it's probably out of the way, being 35 plus feet. In that, outside of the view of the left or the right going on Middlesex Turnpike. Did have a question on the sign itself. If you heard, a couple of people on the board would like to shrink it a little bit more. Is that possible to make the sign smaller?
You want to see if you would shrink it even more?
Well, the answer, of course, Charles, is yes, you can shrink it. Yeah, I'm led to believe, I asked my counsel prior to this meeting, I've driven up and down Middlesex Turnpike many times, and I guess Blue Sky, as it's now called, has put up a series of signs, and I asked, what is the height of the Blue Sky signs, and I was told they are 13 feet. We're not far off that 13 feet at 14 feet. You know, if you made it a condition to get through this, can I cut it to the 13 feet? You know, I'd rather do that than fight ad infinitum.
Okay.
I find it necessary to remind them that this board does not set precedent. And because there's, in a PDD district, somebody else has signs up the street, it doesn't automatically mean that your sign can go in now at
Oh,
13.
yeah, definitely.
I'd like to see the sign less than 13. I'd like to see it much smaller.
I think our point is just that the height of the sign would be consistent with the other freestanding signs along Middlesex Turnpike, so
And
that,
without setting precedent, that's what.
yeah, it's just visually consistent.
Okay. So is there well, before we get to that, I haven't gotten to Rob yet. Rob, do you have any questions or comments? So is there a consensus? What do you? what
I
would you-
guess also, and because this is a dimensionally compliant sign, really the scope of the board that's in front of the board is really if it meets the intent and purpose of the bylaws. It's dimensionally compliant, so it needs to be narrowed to that scope, not to expand it to then impose like design standards when it's already dimensionally compliant.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that, that we're essentially looking at the building inspector's interpretation of that area. I think that if I was gonna vote against the building inspector's interpretation, I would definitely wanna put some conditions on what type of sign you can put in there. So I think that's why we're talking about this now.
You have 40 inches to play with, you got 40 inches coming out of the ground. Probably lose 2 feet of that, it brings you down to 12 feet.
I mean, the grading at that site entrance too is
flat.
lower, as I talked earlier, so, you know, as I had mentioned in a prior hearing, so it dips down a little bit, and so that's why the height of that sign is important.
You're on the
But-
high side of it, dips down by Network Drive there. You're uphill.
I mean, ideally, we
What I'm looking at, they are low. Oh crap, I just hit my screen. The street is a little bit higher than where their proposed location is. It might be a foot, but it's slightly lower.
Jeff, I think the state, when they built the highway and redid Route 62, did raise it, because we had an issue of raising fire hydrants because of that work.
Yeah, I know that section of the parking lot does get flooding. I know that is a lower area. Yeah, it's slight.
So, we're looking at the 40 inches below, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, if we were to,
like 40 inches as a base, is that what you mean, Joe?
the base.
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only, technically at the moment, there's only one other potential retail tenant, right?
There are two vacant restaurant spaces so that's why they have the two
That's why they
blank,
have the two.
the blank ones. So it'd be a total of 6.
6 to
What's the other one? I know flatbread is one of them.
Well, the other one is a space that has not been put on the market. I was potentially holding it for my
In the
son.
middle of the building?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess that's the questioner now. Can we reduce it to 12 feet by either making the sign smaller or reducing that base area?
Yeah, I mean,
To make it, we're trying to make this as small as possible, so we're not.
we ultimately want to get this approved, so, if 12 feet will make it work, then that's something that,
I would be open to taking, I'm also thinking about snow for a moment. Not only are we in a slight dip, but snow gets put there. I think a foot could be taken off. If you force me to go 2 feet off, fine. I wouldn't want to reduce the width, because when cars are coming down Network Drive, I want them to be able to read the sign as opposed to go, what was that? If you might have gone past signs in your life that are too small, and you go, what was that? So I could see taking a foot or two off, but I'd be nervous about reduction of width.
Yeah, from my perspective, I would be okay. I'd be comfortable with 12 feet. I do have a question while everybody's thinking about that. Is this, just to remind me, I don't have it in front of me, is this internally illuminated?
Yes, it would be internally illuminated with, compliant with the lumen standards of
yeah,
the
the
town.
90, no greater than 90 lumens per square foot.
Everybody's still thinking. I can open up to the public. All right, this is a public hearing. If anybody's here to speak for or against this application, you can come up to, that's one of those microphones. All right, seeing none? Is there a condition to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is made and accepted to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Out of the way. Any other comments?
It's just that I can't vote for it the way it's stated, so if they're not gonna make it smaller, then that's how I'm gonna vote.
I think, sounds like the applicant's comfortable with 12 feet to get this passed. I think that's pretty fair considering the area. The road is kinda higher, looking at it on the Google Maps.
Showing me much terrain on here.
Any other comments or?
Just the dumpster.
Oh, yeah, the dumpster. So if we were to condition it that you would finish the dumpster area in some way to make it cleaner, is that,
I think that's outside of the scope of the ZBA, though, with respect to the dumpster, we're talking about a sign. But, and we had talked
You have
about
an
this.
unpermitted bay that was built, right? Never came to Burlington for a permit for it.
I don't know what
It's
the history of,
unfinished.
yeah, I don't know what the history of that is, because it's not before this board. So with all due
For a
respect.
tenant bringing in people there, why would you want it unfinished?
And
It's ready.
you know what,
Yeah.
we've talked about it, and eventually they would like to move it, it's just not an ideal to have any dumpster in that location. It's just not attractive and,
But it's there.
so my client just said that he would be willing to finish it if this, gets, in order to move this forward and to move it forward, he'd be willing to finish it, Joe.
I'd be happy to do it.
And you can always take the 18-inch letters, make them 16, and that brings you up a foot. Even though you're shrinking it 2 feet, gets you another foot up out of the ground. So you have that option too, if it was approved, but 12 feet, I think, is, I'm fine. You can always play with the riders.
Okay.
any other comments?
Yep. I look looked at the main dumpster corral was permitted. I don't know about that extra wall, but if you are willing to finish that off and brick it like the rest of it, or even take it down, I know that was used for wood storage from flatbread, was it?
It was, yes.
Would you even need it?
It depends on who comes into the restaurant
True.
space. I would just prefer
I can understand.
to brick it.
Your standpoint with that. But if you're willing to brick it over so it looks consistent with the rest of it, I think that's a nice compromise. It seems like everyone seems to be comfortable with the 12-foot. So I think it's a fair compromise.
Okay.
So with the conditions, we'd have that.
So I would say, if somebody was to make a motion, I would definitely have the 90 lumens per square foot, no other signs, even if by right. The removal of the sign on Burlington Street, the directory sign on Burlington Street.
That's Bedford Road if you're writing it up.
Bedford Road, thank you. I screw that up every time.
You're welcome.
Just should be flip-flopped, I don't understand that. No other.
Burlington Road,
and I would
Bedford.
say that-
No, that's Burlington
Burlington
Road.
Burlington
where the
Road,
current sign is.
Bedford.
Yeah.
It's not
sorry.
Bedford Street,
I was gonna
Burlington
say,
Road,
Is it
Bedford.
Burlington or
Removal
Bedford?
of the sign on Burlington
Burlington Road,
Road or
Bedford.
Street, Burlington Road.
Okay. More confusing than it should be. And then I would suggest we probably put something in there that they, with no,
No prejudice to.
well, no signage other than retail signage, something to that effect.
Why can't it just be no signs?
I guess it could be no other signs even if by right,
One of the
right? So they
signs
can't
is
change it,
by
yeah,
right.
so that's fine.
Yeah, because
No sign where, I just want to understand that.
We're just working on the conditions, so typically every sign that we see here, most of the time put something on that, there's no other signs even if by right. So if you come back if you want another sign in that area, that is by right, you'd have to come see the board
Sure.
to do that. So, and then something about a line in there about finishing the brick dumpster area. I think that's pretty much it. If we were to make a motion, we should definitely use the 12-foot by 6-foot internally illuminated language and not use the plans, because those are kind of gone now. So, any other?
1472. What's the 24? Is it 24 depth?
Just the whole
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, 2 feet. Yep. So it'd be a reduction of that. All right, I'm gonna give this a shot. Motion to approve a sign for 0 Bedford Street, application 23-19, for a sign 12 feet in height, 24 inches in width, and
Depth.
24 inches in depth, 72 inches in width, in accordance with a plan dated 11/1/23, not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot, no other signs even if by right. The removal of the sign on Burlington Street and the finishing of the dumpster, the wall in the dumpster corral to make it consistent with the rest of the corral.
All right. I'll read that back to make sure I got it.
I think I got all of that.
That's Burlington Road.
Burlington Road.
Thank you. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve a freestanding sign for 0 Bedford Street. That will be
Application 2319.
application. yeah,
There's
sure,
probably
fair enough,
multiple 0 Bedford Streets of weird parcels.
fair enough. Application 2319. Internally illuminated with the conditions There are no other signs by right. Signs not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot. There will be a removal of the directory sign on Burlington Road. And the applicant will finish the brick exterior of the dumpster area to match the rest of the existing dumpster area. Got all of it?
I think we got it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, is there, we can take another vote if there's something else that would make it, make anybody's mind change, but,
I just think the sign's too big. I don't know what the number is, but I just think it's too big. I think it's too much for the area.
what do you think the number would be?
I just said, I don't know what the number is. I'd have to see it to know.
If it's a foot less than the blue sky signs,
It's
it's
two,
already
yeah.
it's 2 feet less.
And shorter. I mean, narrower.
I mean, I can try and dig and see more dimensions on the permit from the blue sky sign, but
I think that's 8
that's gonna
feet.
take me a few minutes.
Okay.
I don't know how much, I mean, let's grab it on the sign, people here, so we can,
Yeah, so I'm gonna just stick with my no vote, so.
okay.
That's the old sign. That's not the new one. It's shown on Google Maps.
Yeah, you don't have it? Okay.
I don't have a visual of it.
So the only other, if we can't get something passed on that, the only other option would be to vote, I guess, to vote to approve the inspector's original decision. I think we have to get to a four-person vote at some point here.
Happy to do that. Want me to motion to approve its motive?
We have to vote in the
Building
positive.
inspector.
We have to vote in the positive.
We have to vote, we would have to vote to approve the building inspector's, upholding the building inspector's decision, essentially.
But it's still the cause for the Thanks for the question.
Give me 1 second, I just wanna, I don't know if you had anything else to add before we, okay. All right, any other motions?
Make a motion to approve the building inspector's decision.
Motion to uphold.
Uphold the building inspector's decision.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to uphold the building inspector's decision on 0 Bedford Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're 3-2 the other way.
Oh, we're killing it tonight.
I don't know, this hasn't happened that often in my career, so give me a second.
Mr. Chair, can I ask something of Mr. Burke? Mr. Burke, is there anything that we can do to the sign that would make it more from a
You did
safety?
indicate last time that the tree could be removed. That would open up the sightline.
Yeah, I think it's in the riverfront. It's in the, so that, it would be like a Concom jurisdictional. The Vinebrook River is right there, so that's all within Concom jurisdiction. I don't think that they would let us remove trees
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
which tree are you referring to, since I didn't?
It's like an oak tree, the only tree there.
The big red tree, well, it's red on my screen. It's bare in the
Yeah, we can show you.
rendering.
Plan east of the sign.
Yeah, it looks like it's riverfront. It's within 200 feet.
So we wouldn't be able, that's jurisdictional with the Concom.
This is 30. Street tree.
So you're saying if we pulled that tree out, you would have?
Just trying to figure out something, we discussed this last time, sir.
Show this
Right, trying to open up the sight lines in that area to the left as you move out of the driveway. Even though you're saying, you keep saying that tree doesn't make a difference, it does, because as cars turn around that corner quickly,
Now, the one behind it.
Mark, are you talking about this tree?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Christine, I don't know if you can see from here.
That one, the large one.
I think it's this one right here. So,
Is that gonna be too close?
It's, the way I'm measuring it on Mass Mapper,
say
it's
it's
just
not
rough, but 200 feet puts us
This tree-
out to the corner of the road, so it's
Is there a
jurisdictional.
tree there?
I mean, they could trim the tree up,
Hey, wait.
they could bring the
Is there
branches up.
another, is there another tree?
Canopy it up.
Yeah.
Is there another tree over here that you're showing over here?
No, there's only one tree.
There's a big pine tree there too,
Okay.
No, we're talking about that one.
next to the
Yeah,
dumpsters.
so there's, looks like maybe an elm. Oh yeah, there's one,
Yeah,
there's like a
there's another-
pine
so that one's
behind the
not
dumpsters.
Okay, so that, Christine is.
Yeah,
is
this,
part of the problem. There's
all right, we're
another
looking from this angle, Mark, so that's the tree you're talking about.
tree. There it is, yeah.
Yeah, so the sign is roughly where these grade stakes are. They're looking to be over there.
I understand that.
So you're worried about the tree?
The sight lines are being,
If you canopy that thing up 8 feet, 6 feet.
If they canopy it up. The sign's 12 feet, bring the branches
You're
up
above the
12
roof
feet.
line of a pickup truck.
yeah.
so this is a picture that was taken just last week. It doesn't look like that
Tree is
tree that
missing.
you're talking about is there. I think that it may have, there's no tree, like, so there's, I think the one that you were referring to, Mark, would have
No,
been
no,
like
you're
right
you-
here.
They just told me that there is another tree there, all right, that.
There's one, the big pine way back behind
I
the
know, but you just
dumpsters.
showed me another one.
So this one is in Bedford.
Yeah, that one's out of the way.
That's way over.
That's the one that.
That's the one
Is that one not
that you're
there
having the issue with. If they were to canopy those branches up, they can't take the tree out, that's within riverfront.
Okay.
But if
They
they,
can bring the
they
tree
could
up.
definitely canopy it.
So, in order to move this thing forward,
You canopy it up
That
6
one's
feet,
within the
well
canopy
above the
it up
vehicle.
doesn't look like
well
it's here.
above the sight lines,
So how high would that be, as
It's
long
that
as it's
tree.
above, because if you're like.
6 foot
That's the
six-
tree, it
so
just has no leaves on it.
Over 6 foot, so it has to be
That's
6
that
foot or higher?
There.
I don't
I
see-
think I would go to 10 feet just to be on the safe
This
side.
tree is he's having the issue with.
Just cut it up.
Yeah.
No, he's talking about
Bring
kind
the
of pulling out.
canopy up on it.
It's over the car
Trim up
sight
the
line.
lower branches
It's
for
like pulling out of a
visibility.
car, 6 feet is, top of my pickup truck.
Yeah.
I would go to
Or
10,
higher, okay.
just to make
You
it
might
clear.
kill it, I don't know how many leads you got coming up. It's up to an arborist to decide if you can go up 10 feet.
I think
but
we,
6
um,
feet, I
I
think,
think we
is
solved it.
I think we can just say, 6 feet or higher.
6 feet or higher, yeah.
Sure, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
go ahead, try it again.
I think I gotta start from the beginning. Okay, motion to approve the sign permit for 0 Bedford Street, hearing number 23-19. An internally lit sign not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot, no other signs, even if by right. the closest tree to the sign, if the tree branches could be brought up to 6 feet, so there's 6-foot clearance underneath. The dumpster corral to be bricked off and become consistent with the rest of the corral, and the removal of the sign on Burlington Road.
Okay,
I think that's everything.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded for 0 Bedford Street to approve a freestanding sign on, 0 Bedford Street,
23-19.
23-19, to be 12 feet in height, 24 inches in depth, 72 inches in width. Internally illuminated, with the conditions that there are no other sign, even if by right, not to exceed 90 lumens per square feet on the lighting. Removal of the sign, of the directory sign on Burlington Road. It'll finish the brick wall around the dumpsters, and the tree closest to the sign on Middlesex Middlesex Turnpike will be trimmed to 6 feet or higher for visibility reasons. Okay. Sorry. Cover it all? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, aye.
All right, 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank everybody on the board for listening to this application, including the person who voted no. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Moving on.
There's waters in here. All right. The next applicant is a new hearing for Ricky Zhang. Is it Yaz Chicken? Have you just come up and introduce yourself and give us a overview of the application?
Hi. Oh, that was louder than I thought. My name is Junpao Zhang. I'm the owner for Yeah Chicken. Ricky Zhang is the person I hired to do my sign.
Okay. Thank you. So you just give us an overview of what type of signs you're putting up and.
So hold on, let me just pull it out. Sorry. So we're putting up 2 signs. One's a wall sign. It's 45.38 inches in height and 200.5 inches in length. It's about 63.18 square feet in total. So it exceeds the section 4A wall sign of 6 inches in length. And we're also putting up a business directory sign, which is 14.38 inches in height and 12 feet in length, for a total of 18 square feet, which also exceed the section 4. So with the business directory sign, it's in compliance with every other sign that's in that plaza, from the tower part. And as for the wall sign, it's a internally illuminated sign, just like every other sign that's in that plaza at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
That's about it.
You're good. Rob, we'll start with you. Any questions, comments?
I have nothing to ask.
I got Jeremy?
Yeah, so, which space in the building is it? What are you between?
So you know where the Sleepy's, it's
Sleep
right
number.
next to that one. So there's
Okay.
like a very big area, like huge.
Okay, thank you, that helps me picture it. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Jeff?
So you're placing Sleepies?
No, we're Unit B, right next to it.
Okay, what's currently there?
Nothing.
Do you know what was there beforehand?
Qdoba, I think.
Qdoba.
And then at one point it was supposed to be some pizza place, but then they ran across to the other side of town.
All right, we're digging in. Okay, so sleep number.
B.
Is that spot on Google
I have a
Okay,
picture.
so it's a
of it.
vacant spot. You're right next, in between Vision Works and Sleep Number.
Correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were replacing the burger place down at the end.
No.
Okay. Um, Seeing a tenant on there. All right, so there's a vacant. It's just vacant. Okay. No other questions at the moment.
Mark?
I have no questions.
Jeff?
Do we know what the
Joe, sorry.
size of the existing signs were? Do we have any of that information?
There's
You're,
no.
right now, you're 17 feet long, like just under 4 feet in height.
So it's 16.5 feet in width,
Length.
and then about 4 feet in height.
Correct, yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know the existing sign because there's currently no sign there. In that
Do you know what
space.
the signs are on the rest of the building?
I'm working on that right now.
Kind of big, doesn't it?
Most.
John?
No, I mean, I'm interested to see if it's smaller than the other signs, but I mean, what he's proposing looks appropriate to me for that building.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't really have much of a concern with this sign. I do have, just out of curiosity, what color is the sign? 'Cause I just kind of like a black and white copy.
It's a yellow and red.
Yellow and red. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Kind of like McDonald's.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm just gonna pull up a Yas Chicken logo so everyone can see it.
And, so while Jeff's doing that, we can, this is a public hearing. We can open this up to the public. So is anybody here to speak for or against the application? Come up to one of the microphones. Seeing none? Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Yellow Yas, red chicken.
Yes.
Second to the motion.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Yeah, I mean, for my sake, I don't think I need to know. I think it fits pretty good in the sign band. Most of the letters look like they're, 14 inches high. They're just, the C looks like it's the biggest one, so that's.
So it's just the C and the little
Yeah,
French
the
fries.
little, is that the French fries on top?
Yeah.
So that's what makes it,
That's the chicken's head.
oh, I thought that's what he said. Okay. So for me, I'm fine with it. I don't know if there's any other comments. I don't know if we can pull it up or not, but, or motions.
Trying to find it.
Motion to approve a wall sign for 9092 Middlesex Turnpike to conform with the plans that were submitted with the application dated
The
8/29 of 2023. The lumens on the sign not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot, and no other sign, even if by right.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded for 90 Middlesex Turnpike for two signs, to a wall sign and sorry, it's on the second page, and a business directory sign, as shown on plans submitted with the application dated 8/29/2023. Conditions that are no other sign, even if by right, and not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you're all set.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
No, you don't have to read this one. You just read it now. Give it to you. Okay, the next application on our agenda is for a new hearing for 75 Middlesex Turnpike for Fiorella's. Cucina? come on up and introduce yourself.
Some handouts, if I could just pass those around. There we go. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Happy New Year. For the record, Attorney Mark Vaughn with Reamer Bronstein, representing the applicant Fiorellas in connection with the application for signage at the property at the Burlington Mall. I think I suspect you're all familiar with this location that we're talking about here, but this is the location that was formerly the Parm Restaurant, so same exact corner of the mall there, corner that has frontage along both Burlington Mall Road as well as Middlesex Turnpike. So Fiorella's is a Italian-themed restaurant that has had a very successful track record with locations in Concord, Belmont, Brighton, Wellesley, and Lexington. They're very excited about the opportunity to locate here at the Burlington Mall in this same space. And Ramon Carian is with me tonight. He is the principal with Fiorella's and from the general area as well. And I know that he's very excited about getting this restaurant up and operating. So the application is relatively straightforward in terms of new signage that would replace what Parm had up there. And what I included in the application, Mr. Chairman and board members, is kind of showing you what the Parm signage was before, just to give you a sense of it, both the schematic rendering of it as well as what it looked like in real life, which is located on the last page of that handout that I gave you. But in short, should I give you all my I think I may have given you one extra for myself too, but, Jack, could I borrow that one back from you? Yeah, sorry. Obviously, the Parm signs would come down, the new Fiorella sign would go up. That's in the application packages submitted. The building inspector determined that in addition to the Fiorellas signage, that obviously is a sign, there's two ornate features that are on each side of the sign that are actually not lit up. They wouldn't be illuminated, but it's what's called this script or the figurehead there, that technically the building commissioner felt that was signage since it was something visual on the building, so we did have to include that as part of what was applied for. But I think it's important to note that even with that being considered a sign, from a square footage perspective, the total amount of signage square feet would go down from what was up there before, because obviously there were two Parm signs on the side that was facing Mall Road, and then you had the other Parm sign that was facing Middlesex Turnpike, and those signs were, much larger in height than what we're talking about, although our length is a little bit longer. So I think that signs are very tasteful and appropriate for the building. I think the whole color palette looks very nice in terms of how that's going to appear. The other element of the application is that technically the awnings themselves are deemed to be signs by the building inspector because it does have some script on there that has the Fiorella's name in small print, as well as that same figurehead that we were talking about before, that kind of, there's a pattern of that awning that we've shown you. We've actually showed some real-life examples of that same awning as they exist at both the Wellesley and the Lexington locations. Correct. So, give you a sense of what that would look like in real life. Those photos are in the package that I gave out to you. And, our feeling is that it's very tasteful, it complements the building, it complements the architecture. We feel it's much less stark and less harsh than if it were just a monochromatic color, and we feel it lends itself well to the awning. And the awning would be a retractable awning. Technically, it would be able to come in and out consistent with how the Parm awning was up at those same locations. So the only signage, again, that would be illuminated at night would be the Fiorella's letters themselves, which would be internally backlit, the halo lit. So, and obviously the illumination would be no more than 90 lumens per foot as required by the town. So With that, be happy to answer any questions you might have or any comments, but I know the awning is a little bit unique in terms of it being considered a sign, and technically it's makes for it to appear as if it's a one huge sign, but I hope what you can see from the real-life photos of it is that it is not something that people are going to see from a distance, and I think it's really just up close. I think it does complement the building, so.
Right, thank you. Open it up to the board first. John?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. You know, when I first read this, I saw 5 signs coming for a restaurant. My head almost exploded. It really did. But the front signs with those, what you call them?
You better get a better name, yeah.
The what?
Is it ornate features?
Yes.
Emblem,
I see
yeah.
that all as the one sign, so I'm not overwhelmed by the signage at all. The awning signs, I don't even personally see them as signage. I've seen them before. I think they look good. Surprisingly enough, I'm not gonna have any problems with this at all.
All right. Joe?
Yeah, as far as the awnings, I think that's, should go out. The only question I have is your, the ductwork tower, where the ductwork's hidden. Is there a sign, you don't have a sign proposed where that is, right? That's gonna be
Yeah, that's coming off, Joe, so there will not be a replacement sign for that.
side A and B. in
Correct.
the tower.
Yeah.
I voted for that. That was a huge mistake. I'm glad to get a chance to correct that.
I'm all set.
Thank you. Mark?
So are the awnings, the palm awnings, are they there now, or did you, those are existing?
Correct.
They're existing, so they'd be coming out and being replaced with the
They just replaced the actual
Fabric's being
fabric, yeah.
replaced. The dimensional staying exactly the same.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions other than that at this time.
All right, thank you. Jeff?
I'm gonna echo the sentiments of my brothers here, and nothing else to add.
Jeremy?
I have nothing to add.
Rob?
I think it looks good.
I think it looks good as well. I did walk by there the other day, and there's a bunch of window signage in there. Can I assume that that's all coming down when you guys are open and ready to go? Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks. All right, so this is a public hearing. Is anybody here to speak for or against this application? Please come up to one of the microphones. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Are there any other comments, questions, motions?
Make a motion to approve the special sign permit for the 10 wall signs and 4 signs attached to the awnings, consistent with the plans that were submitted with the application, dated, we have a date on those,
Yeah, it's 12/5/23.
12/5/23. Same conditions on the 90 lumens per square foot for the internal sign, and no other signs, even if by right.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to approve 10 signs for special sign permit for Fiorella's on 75 Middlesex Turnpike. As shown on plans
12/5.
dated 12/5/2023, with the conditions that they're not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot and no other signs, even if by right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Judging by the amount of people we still have in the audience, do a little microphone moving.
Yeah. Good. Just gonna give Jeff a second to get the microphone going. So the next hearing on our agenda is an application for 5 Francis Wyman. Mark, can you read that in?
Yes, sir.
And if the applicant can come up and state their name for the record, go for it.
The applicant is seeking a variance to combine 2 parcels of land and then subdivide them into 2 new lots. Lot 1A with 18,284 square feet of lot area, parenthetically non-conforming, and 107 feet of street frontage. And Lot 2A, parenthetically conforming, with 20,000 square feet of lot area and 100 feet of street frontage to construct 1 new single-family dwelling unit on each parcel.
Thank you. You say
Good
your
evening
name,
again, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Christine Hung, attorney at Reamer and Bronstein. With me tonight, I have Scott Peacock of Peacock Builders, the applicant. We are before you tonight on a variance application. So I passed out some handouts, and just by way of background, these are 2 parcels. And back in 1965, there was a variance that was granted on both of these parcels. As you can see on the first page of the handout that I provided to you, Lot 1 needed a variance because it was deficient in lot area. And Lot 2, that back pork chop lot, needed a variance because it was deficient in frontage. That variance was granted by a predecessor board with the condition that the barn that you see on Lot 1 be removed prior to a building being put on Lot 2, that back lot. So it was the intent of the board in granting that variance that these 2 parcels be 2 separate developable lots. In 1973, an amendment to that variance was issued to allow for the barn to remain. I think that the applicant at that time petitioned that they needed the barn for storage. So that variance was granted in 1973. Again, with the intention that these 2 parcels be developable lots. And as you can see on that Lot 2, it shows an existing building. There is an existing foundation. From the building records, we can't tell whether it was habitable or not, but there is some structure that was put on that back lot. So whether or not that variance was acted upon, it may have been. It's just unclear from the records from the building department. The succeeding pages show the current state of the property today. The house on Lot 1 has been condemned. It is a danger. It's there's lots of trash on it. It really is an eyesore, and it decreases the property values in that neighborhood. So as you can see, it's very evident. So what the applicant is suggesting, or would like to do, is on the plan that you see, is to create 2 more rectangular lots. One of the lots, which is Lot 2A, is a conforming lot. The lot to the left of it, Lot 1A, is non-conforming in lot area by just a small amount, like 1,700 square feet. It's deficient. Both of it has sufficient frontage, so the intent is to, if this variance were approved, to go before the Burlington Planning Board to get an A&R plan administratively approved because there is sufficient frontage, and then have that recorded. The proposal is to put 2 houses on each of the lots, moderately sized. It would be consistent with, other houses in the neighborhood, obviously new construction, but on lot sizes that are, 20,000 square feet and then just under 20,000 square feet. The last page shows, as you can see, there's a legend that the 2 parcels outlined in yellow is the locus, and then the green highlighted or slashed.
I don't have what you're talking about. I don't see what
that last page.
That was the last page, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the last page. So the yellow is the locust site, the 2 parcels. The green slash marks are lots that are all under 20,000 square feet with houses on it that, there are about 25 properties in the surrounding neighborhood that have that. And then back in 2005, your predecessor board of the ZBA granted a variance for 2 lots that were about 10,000 square feet, so half the size of what we're asking for, and to build 2 residential homes. If this variance isn't granted, then they would have a 40,000 square foot lot. There is a grade differential on that. It slopes downward. Rather than having 2 houses that are compatible with the neighborhood on similarly sized lots, a 40,000 square feet would be just a very large lot in that neighborhood, where because of all the grading and site work that needed to be done, it would increase, you'd have to build a much bigger house, which would be, priced higher as well. Not to mention, they could put, the owner could put in a pool, they could put in a pickleball court, which could be a nuisance for the abutting property owners. I'm just saying that with a lot that is so large that it double the lot sizes of others, something more significant can be placed on that property. We feel that these 2, they're reasonably correct size in terms of like 20,000 square feet. Again, we're making the property, because originally both lots were non-conforming, we're making it better in that we're only asking, only one of the parcels is non-conforming, the other lot will be conforming, and each of the residents that are proposed on those lots would comply with all dimensional standards. So really, the only relief that we're looking for tonight is just the relief for the lot area. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Scott Peacock, who will just introduce himself and
How you doing?
address the board.
Yeah, my name's Scott Peacock, and the company's SJ Peacock Builders. I've been building for like 30 years now, all new homes mostly. I've been in Burlington for about 10 years. I've done probably about 25 projects similar to this, where I tear down a house, put up a new house. Also a resident of town now. I've been here for 7 years now, so that's it.
We're happy to answer any questions that the board may have or comments.
Sure. I just have one clarification before we go. So these 2 lots, are they separate lots currently, as they're shown on the locus map?
Separately deeded lots? Is that-
Separately deeded?
Yes.
Okay. Come back to that in a little bit. Can open it up to questions for now. Rob? Any questions at the moment?
I have nothing.
Jeremy?
Nothing right now.
Jeff?
I was just trying to pull up an old plan, but I'm looking at this, so I have nothing at the moment.
Mark?
So I've been on the board for a while, and I've never seen this kind of an application before, and wondering whether we're putting the cart before the horse. Isn't the place to be the planning board to kind of get some?
So before we move forward with the planning board, rather than spend the money to do an A&R plan, we can condition, if this board agrees to the variance, you can put a condition in the decision that it's subject to getting an A&R plan administratively approved by the planning board, because it is just an administrative action by the planning board. The only requirement is that you have the frontage, and then we record that A&R plan. If we were to go to the planning board now, we could do the A&R plan, and then on the lot 1A, it would just say not a buildable lot, because it doesn't have, so then, that's step 2. So because the planning board is just administrative, we have the required frontage, it's done, it's not, it's administrative, so.
Yeah, so you would just, this is gonna be my question at the end, so I'll just expound on it now. So, assuming this gets approved, which we're obviously far away from that right now, but, you'll have a year to file the building permit, so within that year, you'll go and to the planning board, do the engineering change or whatever you have to do to,
Yeah,
easy
we can even,
administrative
we
thing.
can probably just change this plan and do, an A&R plan and then
Yeah, and then-
get that approved. So we could do that
Okay.
pretty quickly.
Okay. Sounds like they are kind of putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, but, sounds like it's in a more efficient way to do it for the applicant, so. Talk about how we feel with that a little bit, I guess. Do you have any other?
I just would feel more comfortable getting some input from the planning board. That's my sense, right?
Yeah, there's no input from the planning board because for an A&R plan, all you need to do is just have the required frontage.
Yeah, it's
An
essentially
administrative matter.
application, and they stamp it, and then you get it back.
Okay. I'll wait to hear from other board members.
So, this is it says separate deeds, 2 lots, 2 deeds. You're just configuring the lot lines to make sense.
Yeah, make them,
Today's building,
exactly. They,
and they're gonna have sufficient frontage.
it'd be a lot more conforming this way. I
Sorry,
think we could
Brian.
make it subject to the planning board.
Yeah, so you have the frontage.
Joe, do you mind if I jump in for a second? I just have another question that I'm afraid I'm gonna forget. So could you, at the moment, could you build 2 houses?
At the moment, I could build 1 house.
You build 1 house, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah, so you have 2 deeds. It just goes back to the grandfathered rights,
Right.
I'm assuming, because
Yeah.
it was voluntarily abandoned.
It's interesting, yeah, that,
In its day, and you're just reconfiguring the lot lines to make it, Well, I don't have any further questions.
Yeah, I have comments, but I'll wait till we hear from the public first.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to hear from the public as well. The only thing I'll say in the beginning is there are several different items that they have to kind of check off with Chapter 40A. And I have yet to find a reason, a hardship on a lot split. So that's something that I'd be interested to hear from the applicant on.
yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say with this is they were 2 separate deeded lots, and they've never been acted on. The property's never been acted on. The house has been sitting in the exact same condition. So it's almost like, by doing nothing, you have kept them as 2 separate lots. I could see if they had went ahead and built one of those houses, and those lots were in common. Back when those variances were granted, there was no time stipulation on them. I mean, it's really, those lots have been separate, and I believe they should be separate, and I think what we're doing is making them conform to the neighborhood much better by doing this.
Okay. Do we know when it was abandoned? Has it been like 30 years? Do we know? Any idea?
A long time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was recently condemned by the building inspector, I think, last year, but I don't think the owners have been living there for a decade or more.
Okay.
I know it's caused a lot of stir in the neighborhood now that the trees have come down, because everyone can kind of see what's going on there. Like, wow, that was really behind there this whole time.
Yeah, I live in that area. Didn't really know that was there. Okay, if there's no other comments from the board, we can open it up to the public. If there's anybody here from the public, if you can come up to this microphone in the middle and just state your name and hi.
Carol DeFelice.
You just gotta do it on the microphone. Sorry. It's for all the
Carol
people watching.
DeFelice, I live at 3 Francis Wyman. They've been gone for about 15 years. And when I talked to them most recently, they tried to sell the property as 2 lots. And the town told them, no, it's 1 lot. So I object to having 2 houses over there. I've been there in this house 25 years now, 26 years. And I'm sorry, but I don't like change. And as overgrown as it was, I was constantly fighting the weeds and the vines and everything else that came over, but I got to like the way it is. And I know that the house has to come down, and I know you're gonna build a house. But 2 houses, to me, it's gonna be right on the property lines. And they're gonna tower over my house. I just got a simple little farmhouse. It's built in 1920. And it's just, I just can't see it happening. 2 houses right next door. So that's my thing.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeff Powderly, 379 Cambridge Street. Driveway actually comes off of County Road. And I would be in favor of the lot split. I would prefer to see 2 reasonably sized houses instead of these McMansions, what you would call them nowadays. I just think it would fit the neighborhood better. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you guys?
Very good.
I live on 32 Francis Wyman Road. I've known Scott for a while. I'm in the construction business, but I'm out of it because I took an office job. But besides that, so I'm familiar with construction and the housing market. Scott's building a house right around the corner. He's built a beautiful houses in Burlington. And it's funny because I drive around with my kids and I tell them, look at these houses, I know the guy. But reason for, she's mentioning small houses, and I think about my house, which is a mid-size house. And Burlington has turned around, and they are putting these big houses, not mansions, but bigger houses. So these little houses are getting outdated. Just recently, we had an article about Burlington being the #1 suburbs in the area. And, it's nice to see. I've been here 20 years, and I came from Waltham, and, what a change in 20 years. Burlington was trees, woods, and it's now a city, not a town. And to see the value of houses go up, I'm all for it. As far as putting 2 lots, and not one humongous house, which there is one on Francis Wyman. And any builder can do that, but it just stands out, it's out of place. So I'm good for, voting, putting 2 houses on this lot.
All right, thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Don Getz. I live at 6 Francis Wyman, directly across the street from the current thing.
Sorry, can I just stop you there? What was the name again?
Don Getz.
Don Getz.
G-O-E-T-Z. We live at 6 Francis Wyman, right across the street. And we just have a lot of questions and things that we're worried about if there were 2 houses, mainly additional traffic, what's going to be facing the road, drainage. Just there's a lot of, right where we are is right at the crest of the, after the crest of the hill, so it's hard to see things coming up. So I have 4 small children, all under 6, so just having more cars, more traffic is something we're worried about. So it's just, there's a lot of concerns on going from 2 to 1 houses, so that's all, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mark DeCoste. I am Carol DeFelice's #3 Francis Wyman Road, her boyfriend's son. This board is available as a means to consider changes to zoning bylaws if no other options are possible. The original sellers, Chris and Deirdre Reese, they hired an attorney and an engineer and went to the town and asked if it could be done. They were told no. When the lots went on the market, I was interested in buying it, and I went to engineering, planning, and to the building department, and they all told me that under no circumstances would these lots conform to 20,000 square feet. The only way that it could be done is for financial hardship, which there is no financial hardship here. The reason I think we're here is the options are there are abutters with square footages to purchase to make it a conforming lot, which I wouldn't have a problem if there's 2 houses there. But I'm here to say, be fair to the abutters. If there's available square footage to purchase the square footage, make the lots conforming. So I don't think that if there are options, that it needs to get a variance from the Board of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Quinn. I live at 35 Mill Street. I'm also a local home builder, and I feel like...
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Tim Quinn, I live at 35 Mill Street, but I'm also a local home builder, and I think what Scott's going to do to that property is going to greatly improve the area. He's taken a, non-conforming and making it less non-conforming, and it sounds like the abutters that are not happy with the decision, possibly if they get a financial benefit out of this, then they'll be okay with 2 houses, which I don't know if that is the right thing to do or not, but I think you should be granted the variance to improve the area, and for a 1,500 square foot variance on a 20,000 square foot lot is not asking for much, so that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mark DePietro, 22 Princeton Road, Burlington. 47 years in town. Town's changed a lot. I'm also a business owner in town. The site is an eyesore that I've grown up watching. Any improvement is better. 2 separate houses, more affordable for the area, to me, is one of the best decisions. Burlington is getting bigger and bigger. Some of the houses that are being built are a little bit big and a little bit out of price range for people who want to be in this town. Good school system, good town, lots of businesses, restaurants. I think 2 moderately sized houses, moderately priced, definitely an improvement for the area.
Thank you. All right. Seeing nobody else, I think we'll keep it open for the time being and see if there are any more comments from the board.
I have a question.
Sure, go for it.
So, most people are asking about the size of the house. Can you be more specific with us as to what your plans are, square footage wise, type of house, that type of thing?
Sure, yeah, there'll definitely be colonials, more in the, 3,500 range as opposed to 5,000 range, There'll be 3 floors.
We can't
Sorry,
take comments,
Yeah, take
not
comments for
on
now.
the
Yeah.
microphone.
So we
It's
can
still
ask
open though,
Yeah.
if you have
Yeah.
questions, feel
Yeah,
free to
you
come
gotta
up.
come,
yeah.
be recognized and everything.
Can I make,
It's okay.
No worries.
It's just, I've seen the houses you built, and they're nice houses, but they're 3 floors, they're enormous. And they're just gonna, I can't help it, I just think they're gonna look right down on me, and I'm just not happy
How
with.
many floors did you say?
there would be 3 floors, yeah.
There would be 3
They're
floors.
enormous.
There's a height restriction in town, so you can't go over the height restriction.
Yeah,
They're
you're
gonna be
35
30 foot
feet max. You're
Yeah,
talking about
30.
3 floors with an attic? The
That
third
would be
floor is an
included,
attic?
yeah, that would be included in that.
Okay, so 2 floors with
Yeah,
an
we
attic.
usually have a walk-up attic, which has an
Okay.
option to be finished or not.
So not 3 floors like an apartment building?
Correct.
Okay.
And so on that note, if it was considered 1 lot and you weren't granted this, would you still be building a 3-story house?
Yeah, but it would be more in the 5,000 to 6,000 range, I would think, because the way that lot sits up, I'd probably end up pushing it back and doing a larger house with a in and out driveway.
Ms. DeFelice, you were concerned with how close it would be to you?
How close to the property lines? I did speak to my other neighbors, and they did say they were going to be here, but they're not. The people at number 7 said that he was going to come. He said he was opposed to it. The people directly across the street, next to those people, she said she was going to come because, of course, on the opposite side of the street, the houses are a little bit lower, and my side of the street is a little bit higher, so these houses are gonna look, they're just gonna, she commented about how it's gonna cut off the sunlight on the front of her house. But, you know, it was just one of the reasons she said she was gonna come.
So right now, it looks like that house is like 5 feet off the road, the current house.
It's right on the sidewalk, just
Yeah.
about, yeah.
So, I mean, it's gonna be set back at least 25 feet.
Correct.
Yeah,
Goes
that
off
would
of
be
the
all
road.
dimensionally
That's dimensionally compliant.
But, and the other thing is, too.
I think people could find some solace in that, no matter which direction this goes. I mean, it's going uphill. Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
wow, what a piece of.
So, Mr. Fleet's field, so facing the property, you're on the left side?
I'm on the same, I'm on,
Left side.
going down the hill, I'm on the right.
No, you're on the left side of the property.
You're on the left side of the property, you're facing it.
Standing in Francis Wyman Road, you're to the left.
You're to the
If
left.
you're facing
Correct.
the
Yes.
property, okay.
So, and you're aware of where her property line is?
Yes.
Is there something we could do to minimize the impact on her property? Some sort of natural buffer zone, something like that?
Absolutely.
Landscaping or.
Absolutely, I'd work with her in any way I need to, yeah. that's
Well,
not a
I bring
problem.
that up because I got a call from the people directly behind it. She said she was coming tonight too, but she's not here. And she was concerned too with it all being open, and she was hoping there could be something just to put up to minimize it there,
Yeah.
something like that. If there was a buffer zone put in between your properties, would you be more at ease?
Probably a little more at ease, but just in what they've done, they've cleared out the back quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not presentable, but they cleared it out.
It's early stages.
I mean, I can see right down at St. Mary's Road now.
Yeah.
And there's a house down there with a floodlight. It shines right in my bedroom. I mean, and this
But
never,
if we could.
no, no, I'd be
buffer zone
agreeable
in
to
there,
that, but I just,
That would eliminate that problem for you, correct?
it would depend on what kind of buffer zone too we're talking about.
Right, well, that's all
Yeah,
we can talk about.
You know, and I told Scott way back when, because he approached me to buy a piece of my land, and we just couldn't come together with a number, and
Business.
so, but, you know, it's either gonna be two houses or one house. Two houses if he bought a piece of my land, and then he said one house, but here we are.
So, okay, but if he had the money to buy a little bit of your land, you would have been fine with the two houses there.
I had mixed emotions about it, yeah, and he knew that. I told him that.
Okay. Thanks. Do you have anything else? Or if
that's
not,
it.
we can, you can have you come back up
Yeah, you can.
in a couple minutes, sure. I do have a question. I just wonder if you could address, one of the
Yeah.
public was concerned about drainage.
Yes, I got a great answer for that. I don't know
Controlled under conservation.
how much you know what's going on with conservation, but now we have to put infiltrators in. No water can leave the property. So the situation's gonna get actually much better, especially with two houses, because all your water, you can't have water running off your driveway, you can't have roof water running off, it all goes into the infiltration system. So the situation over there is gonna get way better with the water, not worse.
Sure, so I have a pretty decent understanding about it. Can you just explain what an infiltrator is for the
Yeah,
public?
so it's an underground water system where you keep all your water on your own property. Basically, you're putting, it's like a big plastic tube chamber that you fill with stone, and all your gutter water goes into it, all your driveway water, everything goes into those infiltrators now. And it's pretty elaborate what we have to do now.
So I have I actually, you built a house right next to my house on Arnold Terrace, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Three Arnold Terrace, and that infiltrators system was put in on that property.
But they've probably tripled them since then, what we have to do now.
They
It's
didn't-
it's a lot more involved than what we did back then.
That system didn't work.
Yeah, exactly, because they're much larger now, you
They're all
can't just go
engineered
with,
now.
yeah.
In any event, the town foot the bill to change the drainage on Arnold Terrace so that he could, the owner of that home could get into the storm drains.
I'll tell you what, though, the situation
all
with
the
that was the
water.
water coming from the back property across that, not the actual
That
water
whole-
from that property. I know, I'm very familiar with what you're
That
talking
whole area
about.
is a nightmare.
Mhm.
There's a water district that's right in that area,
That's right.
right where you put that house.
Well, it starts up at St. Mary cul-de-sac and comes right down through that
Oh, it
neighborhood.
The property, the
So
person I
it
bought that
starts
property
uphill.
off was trying to develop up in there, and they shut it down because there was so much water that came out of that hill.
Yeah, no, but the water, that didn't solve the water problem. And the water was running off, and in a night like this, it was creating ice along the whole length of Arnold Terrace.
I would say that what I put in did solve the water problem for that property, not the problem behind it that was coming right across the whole time.
I'm just saying, the infiltrator system was supposed to work.
All right.
So
That
I
property,
have a
and it
piece to
didn't.
add on that. So last year, in addition to my service on this board, I'm also a town meeting member. Last year, town meeting approved for a groundwater bylaw and a stormwater bylaw. And it requires the groundwater systems, the stormwater systems to be engineered further than, as Mr. Peacock was saying, further than what was required in the past. The groundwater bylaw requires test pits to be dug, and you cannot build more than 2 feet above the water. You have to be more than 2 feet above the water table. The estimated seasonal groundwater height. I think I said that correctly.
Close enough.
That's right.
Close enough.
So, I mean, for me, it sounds like that water shouldn't be an issue. But it's not really in our purview, so. So, let's talk about natural buffers. We talking about like arborvitaes across the way and all the way around everything? What do we?
Well, I think you're only talking about one side, and
No, you're talking about the back as well.
but you're over 125, 150 feet. You know, from the back of the house to that property line's out back on,
What if the neighbors still agreed?
4 acre.
If the
Yeah,
neighbors still
agree, but
agreed.
it's-
There's 200 feet.
And their house is a minimum of another 15, 20 feet off of that line, so you're $150 away.
Yeah,
plus.
it looks like, with a
Yeah,
rough
right here.
measurement on Mass Mapper, where it, from the property line to 3 Francis Wyman, Misty Felice's house, we're about 70 feet off of the property line there. From that corner where it turns, that's 200 feet back.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way, yeah. Okay. Are you taking, you're kind of clear on the other side too, right, with not the one next to,
The guy downhill, I think, should put his own arborvitae's, because he's running a landscape company out of there, which is illegal. So I don't think there should be anything on that side of the property. He should be putting something up or get his vehicles out of there.
We've cleared everything that we needed to. It was so overgrown, the engineer couldn't get in there. That's why we went in and cleared everything. Of course, around the house, we couldn't touch because it's just, the house is ready to fall down. So the trees around the house would come down, but for the most part, we're just going back in there now and stomping it. There might be a couple more trees that might be in the way, but for the most part, the clearing's done. And as far as adding some trees, I'm more than willing to work with people on that. That's not a problem at all.
Other than anything privacy tree related, are you planning on planting any other trees and features?
I generally don't. I leave that up to the buyers to decide what they want to do. For the most part, I don't. But sometimes if there's something I need to block out, I'll do it. That's, either with a fence or.
Conservation's against arborvitae's because they're not native for some reason.
okay.
It's I don't understand.
Make a
So,
nice privacy hedge.
I think the fence, the width of the house, the depth of the house, because the arborvitae's are gonna be a fight at the conservation because they're not native.
Yep.
So you're saying a fence, a wooden fence or?
Yeah.
Well, I think we could do
fence or
some
something
sort
as
of,
opposed
We
to
can have illegals,
natural?
but we can't have non-native shrubs for some reason. They gotta be native.
so could we do something to the effect of, if we were gonna do a condition, we could do something to the effect of, a natural barrier between two areas?
Yeah, if you go with a fence, Concom doesn't get involved. If you mention arborvitae's, Concom's gonna shut.
So if we went with a fence, that would be
Lighting
fine with
down.
you?
If we put a fence, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
All right, so, we'll,
I think Mr. DeCosta has a question.
sure, come on up.
Mark DeCosta again. A fence is only going to be 6 feet. We're talking 30-foot tall house on the third floor. A fence is not going to, and greenery is not what's going to fix this problem. The problem is that the lot does not conform to the 20,000 square feet for anybody else except for Mr. Peacock, if you approve it. We're talking about a $600,000 give to him if you approve it, when he could share the wealth with the abutters.
Thank you.
Like, we don't wanna get into any money here or briberies or payoffs. That's not what this board's
Yeah,
about here.
we're not gonna talk about the financial part of this.
So that's outside, that's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
My take on this, anything's better than what's being there. Just to have 2 lots at 3,500 instead of 1 lot at six plus, which doesn't make sense. It's 2 lots is more tax money. It's not gonna, traffic's not gonna be an issue today with the engineering and the bylaws of the, conservation today with the drainage. I don't see drainage an issue. Given Ms. DeFelice some sort of 50-foot, border, the depth of the house, because that seems to be the problem, at the height. You can't plant 30-foot arborvitae's or any,
Yeah, they'll have to grow into it, obviously, but,
So a fence, the buffer, but the people out back, they're not here, but they're quite a ways away.
sure. Yeah, I mean, for where I'm at with this, there's 3 things that we have to satisfy, right? There's detriment to the public good, which, I don't think that there really is a detriment to public good to, split these lots.
And the height restriction, that's
Yeah, that's all taken
that's
care
part
of.
of the building code.
So it's derogate from the intent of the bylaw. My opinion, the intent of the bylaw is to, for a densification, and I think that's taken care of with the, fact that they're gonna be built within the setbacks of the lots. So they're still gonna be within the 15-foot and 25-foot setbacks that we have.
The frontage is there.
Frontage is there. My only concern is.
Comply with all setbacks anyways, and
Right, so that means he
you're
meets
not,
that.
you're not asking for variance on the setbacks, you're just asking a variance for the square footage on 1 lot. The house will comply with all setbacks. It's just like any house you knock down today that's under 20,000, it's buildable under 20,000, you just gotta meet all the setbacks. And in this neighborhood, there's a couple dozen non-conforming lots.
25 at least.
Yeah, 25.
Okay. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak before we close the public hearing?
Hi, Don Getz, 6 Francis Wyman across the street. I just had a couple questions just to try to figure a few things out. Like, there would be additional hookups, I'm assuming, into the road, so that would be like construction to actually like block the street off and all that, I'm assuming. That's correct?
That's correct.
Is either of them on a well, or are they all?
There are wells there, but everything would be town water.
Okay.
so.
And then, what was the other question I had? Is there going to be an elevation difference between the houses?
Yes.
And how far back is it from the road exactly?
The houses?
Yeah.
25 feet.
25 feet, okay. All right, and that's, all right, well, obviously, right now, it's like a foot, so that's, okay. All right, that was really the only questions I had. I was just trying to get a couple answers on that, so.
Okay.
And I was just gonna say, it's 25 feet back from the lot line, so there's still the sidewalk on the other
Yeah.
side is what I'm seeing here. So it's a little further from the street than that.
So you're close to
25
30
feet is the minimum.
Minimum, okay.
And you have a crown in the road, so any water, whether you're concerned with the driveway running across the street, that can't happen.
Not,
It's
I mean,
gotta
a
hit
little,
curb
not,
line and-
honestly, the thing that worries me the most is I have 4 young children, and it's just like traffic and more cars. That's really it, but like, that's about it, so.
Was the
It's like
drainage,
one of the Would it be is it a shared? No, that's the current pavement. It wouldn't be a shared driveway.
There'll be two curb cuts, there's two existing curb cuts
Yeah,
already there.
one's up on the corner. Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay.
that doesn't change.
Okay. Yeah, basically the only difference is the new driveway for the small lot would be directly in line, I believe, with our driveway. So that was one thing I was worried about a little, because like, we've had issues with plowing and stuff and just making sure that, but that's a different story. Okay, that's everything. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this before once we close the public hearing, we can't hear any more of the public's comments, so. Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns?
Well, my comment is, I think that, it's my personal opinion, I would prefer to see two moderate-sized homes there than the one big one.
I tend to agree.
I have a concern about Mr. DeFelice's property. I want to see the fence put in there on that side, and I also want to see it on the back. Even though it's already 150 feet, as always saying, the woman still reached out to me and just got a complaint with those sight lines. You have no problem with it, so I want to include that in it as well.
It's fine.
Just on lot 1A, is that lady?
Just on the 72
Yeah,
feet in
just
the
on-
back?
You know who I'm talking about.
The seven, well, you're talking about on both of them, the 72 plus the 73, so both lots.
Which one reached out to you, lot?
Probably, it's-
This lady?
No, this lady.
This lady, so it's lot 2A.
So 2A. Well, why wouldn't you do the whole thing?
Yeah.
So you're talking go across the whole back,
Yeah.
so 150 feet,
150 feet, and 100.
yeah,
Is that a problem?
roughly 100.
It's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. And that old foundation,
That's,
Okay, fence.
Well, that whole
That's
foundation.
the problem.
that old
That's what
foundation's
parents would be
coming
So
out.
fence, a condition
It'll be
with a
150
fence
feet
along.
across the rear,
Okay,
and I don't know, 50 feet.
Where it has this jog, probably start the fence at the jog. That way you don't have a fence sticking out into the road.
yep.
You're talking about
That-
where it goes
that
62
little-
feet here
that
and then
little elbow
204.
there. Probably start the fence at that jog and be right up, basically with the front of the proposed house, going all the way back to the drill hole, and then all the way over to the other drill hole.
So 200 feet back? So about 350 feet of fence? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah.
Just to put a number on,
Yeah.
so 350 linear feet of fence.
Fence.
Other than that, I'm good.
Should we specify the type of fence? You know, I don't think that, Mr. Bucock would put up like a chain link fence, but I think we should specify that it should be some sort of,
A privacy fence,
Privacy.
with white PVC.
Just, I leave it at privacy.
Just privacy. We don't need to get into specifics, that's not,
It's PVC.
people can perceive that in multiple different ways, just a privacy fence.
so. So we're gonna go about, you know, along the property line of
200 feet up lot 1A.
204.6 feet.
Come across 1A to 2A at approximately 150 feet.
Where do you see 1A? Oh, just right there, right, yeah, 1A. And then 145. 145.64 across 1A and 2A.
Well, on a condition, being two separate lots, you probably wanna do the
All right,
72
yeah.
plus the 73.
So you're just talking about this,
And then if anybody's gonna make a motion, we need to condition it to, subject to the planning board approval.
type of trees and could get pretty.
Correct. Approval of the
Approval of
A
the
and
A
R.
and R.
Approval of the A&R, yes.
what's funny is every single lot conservation is full. It's really,
Oh, you're giving me the look.
I can't make a motion.
Okay, motion to approve the application for 5 Francis Wyman Road. I'm trying to get a reference number here.
5081.
23-29 for a square footage variance. Am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
Square footage variance
Lot 1A.
for Lot 1A on the plans submitted dated, that's not the right plan.
12-12.
Dated 12/12, yeah, 12/12/23, with the conditions of, let me just close that where I wrote it all down. Conditions of 200 feet of privacy fence along the northern side of Lot 1A, and 72 feet along the southern side of Lot 1A, and 73 feet of privacy fence along the back of Lot 2A. Subject to planning board approval not required for the, subject to planning board approval
The A and R.
A&R.
of an A&R plan
Yes.
to change the lot lines.
Clean it up a little bit. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion is made and seconded for 5 Francis Wyman to approve a square footage variance for Lot 1A to 18,284 square feet, as shown on plans dated 12/12, submitted with the application dated 12/12/2023, with the condition that it is subject to planning board approval of the A&R plan, and that there will be a privacy fence installed on the northern side of 200 feet of Lot 1A, and to the rear of Lot 1A for 72 feet, in the rear of Lot 2A at 73 feet. I get that? You good? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes. Opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, minutes. Everybody get the minutes? I guess I have them up. Motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
December 19th.
December 19th.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of December 19th, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.